Alright YouTube, we are back at it again with our Toyota Tundra High Lift Tamiya kit build. In this video we're going to go ahead and do steps 12 through 18, I think. And that'll be one axle start to finish with leaf springs on it. We're only going to do that much. It'll take us quite a bit, I think. So first things first, we're going to start with the differential. What we end up with is something like this. To get there, we have these two metal parts, two bigger gears, two spacers, three little spider gears, and three little screws. So, what we're going to go ahead and do first is put a little grease right in there, drop our spacer ring in there, and then put a little grease on the back side of the gear like so, and drop that in and give it kind of a little twist and let the grease settle out. Our next step is to take this star piece, put our gears on with the gears facing inside. You'll end up with something looking like this, and that just drops in. And we put grease, like a pea-sized piece of grease, in the middle of each of the gears, like so. We'll set that down for now. And on this back half, we'll put a little grease. And again, we'll do our metal spacer. And then a little grease. And that's just to lube everything up to make sure it slides without too much effort. And once you got that all together, they just slide together like so. Alright, and we'll take our three little screws. They are Allen screws. Make sure you put Loctite on it, so we'll put a little Loctite on it, like so. And just run that in. Alrighty, and that is one complete differential. This last screw in. Don't over tighten them, just give them a nice little twist. And you can take one of the axle shafts and give that a twist, and that'll squeeze all that grease that's inside. It'll spread it out. So, alrighty. We'll pause here. We'll get all our stuff to do step 11. Or not 11, sorry. Put all our stuff together to do step 13, which is going ahead and assembling the axle. So give me a second, let me square out some parts and we'll be right back. Alrighty guys? 1 second. Alrighty guys, we're back at it. And in this step, we're going to go ahead and build our axle. I've already built one. Stuck it on the truck. That's what we'll end up with. So, let's go ahead and get started. First things first is we're going to need our two axle shafts. And we're going to need to stick an E-clip on the end closest to the outboard. Like that. And drop two bearings in it. Like that. And then you're going to put another E-clip on the inboard side. Like that. Alright, and do the same for this one. Put on the outer one. Maybe. Like that. Drop two bearings on. Now on this longer shaft, there's actually two notches, one here and one here. We want to make sure we put our E-clip on the furthest away from the end, and that's so we can get proper depth on our differential. Like that. Alright, now we'll set those two aside. In this mess, I have another E-clip. Cool. Alrighty, and we'll find our axle housing, which is this guy here. Oh, there it is. I thought I'd left it in the bag, but we'll want to grab our pinion gear and drop a bearing on it like that. Drop it into our axle housing, like so. Stick one more bearing on it, right here, and then our final E-clip for this axle goes right there, like so. Now our long shaft is going to go into the side of our differential with a hole in it. Alrighty, and then the short one is on the opposite side. And then we just put our bearings on, furthest out all the way against the E-clip, furthest in against the E-clip, and again on this side, furthest out and furthest in. And they'll drop into spots in the differential, or housing, or not the differential, but the transmission, or the axle housing, like so. And then we will grab our Tamiya lubricant and put some on the gears, like that. And then drop our cover over like that. Alrighty. Now, our next step, the step 14, so we did 13, we're going to do 14, has us putting screws in. So one here. Let's find a nut so we can get my drill out and cheat. Alrighty. So this requires 6 nuts. You'll notice that there's 8 holes for screws, but you're only going to use 6 of them. You're going to use the 4 closest to the differential, and then 2 of the further away ones. So get that put in like this. Alrighty, now to determine which ones are getting it on the outside, if we hold our differential, or if we hold our axle housing like we have in the picture, this fuzzy hair off it, and you'll see that we're actually going to use the bottom 2, so these 2 out here, so that one there, and that one there, like that. Alrighty, so we have our screws in, and now we're going to set this aside for now, and we're going to go to step 15, which has us building our knuckles. Now this one, we got to make sure we pay very careful attention to what we're doing, because the knuckles will actually go on the axle in either direction. There's no left or right. So you need to make sure you make a left and right. So if you do one this way, you have to do the one the opposite way. What they have us start with is putting a screw on this outside hole. Like so, on both of them. Okay. And then on top of that, we'll put a little Loctite. Maybe. Alright, so we'll put a little Loctite, and then it's going to get these threaded tubes with little hex on them to get them nice and tight. So it'll get this piece here, so we can get a good look at it. And it goes on with the Allen side facing, or not the Allen, the hex side facing down. Like that. Okay? And once we got that done, we then very carefully put our axle shaft in. Like so, but first, before I, not our axle shaft, our knuckle, our dog bone section. Get these two before I forget. Come on. Don't forget to put your two little rubber O-rings in these. They go in just like this. And the reason you do that is so it preloads the axle shaft. So just kind of push it in there. Put in a little grease. Put the bearing on. Drop it into your knuckle like that, and then again make sure you're paying attention with the axle sitting like they have it in the picture. They want your knuckle to go on this side, but first, before we do that, we put our spacing rings in. Alrighty. And then just insert your knuckle like that. So you end up with it looking like that. And then you're going to get these collared screws. Now these collared screws come in bag D. So when you're looking for them, that's where you'll find them. But they just go in on the ends. And just run them down till they're tight. And you'll end up with that. So we'll just repeat on the other side. Remember to put our O-ring in. Like that. So you throw that on the ground. Use something to mush it in so it's flat and not crooked in there. Alrighty. Drop it in the knuckle, and then put our spacer rings. So And then we'll top that off with our screw. Let's get it started. Alrighty. Like that. Now our last step is going to be step 16, and that has us putting on these two guys. They are, what are they? L9 onto this steering shaft. So just get them started, and then what I do is I just put something through each end and give them twists. That way I can just easily wind them on nice and tight. There's normally, on some of these shafts, you're going to get like a spot to grab the shaft that you will allow you to do an even installation. This one doesn't have it, so I don't think even is their concern. Which is weird, but hey. You want to be careful because you don't want to bend it. But once you've got it on a fair bit, you can check it to the picture and you can see where you need to be. So I need to go a little bit further. The reason I use like a tool in these is it just really hurts my hand and it makes it easier to do. So once you've got the right length, they just drop on the smooth end of those bolts we put in earlier, like so, and then they get capped with a brass ball end. And then just give them a nice tighten, like so. And that is one axle. Now you'll notice that they have you making two of them, front and rear. The truck is capable of front and rear steering. Just add another servo, make them out. There'll be a bit more to it than just adding another servo, really, I guess. But you can add another servo and make it four-wheel steering, which is cool. So we'll set that aside. We'll prep up for our next step. So we'll just set that aside, and actually we'll just wrap it up here. This video should probably be pretty long as it is, so I appreciate you guys watching. Like, comment, subscribe. Let me know how I'm doing and what you guys think of the videos. SpeedyMax signing off.